Hey.
Good morning.
Hi, Terry.
How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Good morning. We're at Book Expo 2011, and we're spending time with Sharon Cramer this morning, talking about her Cougar Cub adventures. She's multi-award winning Mom's Choice Award, children's picture book author and illustrator. Her first book is Lost and Alone, and the next one in the series is I'm Just Like You. I love these books.
Thank
I love
you.
the shape. Every time I picked this up earlier, and it's like perfect for little hands. Where did the idea for this come from?
The very first book, Lost and Alone, is actually a very old book. I'm also the illustrator of the books, and I wrote and painted this book for my youngest son when he was born.
And he is
18 years old.
Oh, wow.
So this book I created 18 years ago for him. And when I created this book, it is about sibling rivalry. The Cubs one day have a terrible fight, and they separate after they have their terrible fight. And I had an 8 and 10-year-old son at the time, so it was easy to write about sibling rivalry at the time.
Oh, yeah.
The walls of my house were crashing down around me. So this is what started it. And that was the very first of the books. And I wanted to write about something that was an everyday family issue for kids. And sibling rivalry, anybody that's had a friend, a sister, and a brother knows what that is.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love the way these little mice just peek over when you put a book in front of them.
I know, isn't that wonderful? And look what they're peeking at. In this book, I'm Just Like You, is the continuing adventures of the Cougar Cub brother and sister. And in this book, they meet a very different creature. He's blind, he's covered with spots, and for many reasons they have apprehension about befriending him. So this book is essentially about intolerance. But by the end of the book, they overcome their ungrounded fears about the unknown, and this very cool cat helps them do that, this little bobcat.
Now, is there an inspiration for this one as well?
There isn't a child that hasn't felt like they didn't fit in. And so each of the books I want to address an everyday childhood issue. And there isn't somebody, a child in first or second, third grade, middle school, that has at some point or another not felt like they didn't quite fit in. Yep. So each one of my books I want to have a message.
Well, and that was my next question is, when you say each books, and you seem to be alluding, there are more to come.
There are more to come.
Excellent.
I am working on a new Cougar Cub tale and the brothers and sisters, and it's called the Sneezy Wheezy Day. And one of the cubs, I call them the kids, one of the kids gets sick, and they go on an adventure into the woods to try to find cures for their little illness that one of them has taken on. And they meet all these different creatures with all the different cures that they're going to suggest for them, and you're going to love the new introduction of the new animals. But by the end of the book, what happens is the cubs realized what mattered the most was that they cared about each other, and these other creatures cared too. So it's not so much the illness as the people that care about you when you are ill. And that brings me around to what made me publish this book in the first place. I was an identical twin. When I painted this book for my youngest son, my twin sister said, "Sharon, you should publish that. It's beautiful." And she died in her sleep at the age of 37 after negotiating childhood diabetes. And so it's easy for me to write about childhood illness in the Sneezy Wheezy Day. And even though it's just one of the cubs is getting a head cold, every child interacts with illness at some point or another, whether it's chronic or acute. And so that's something else I wanted to write about.
In sharing the books with kids,
Yes.
do you have one of those experiences that says, this is why I did this? This is just, it's just sort of renewed the passion to continue the series?
You know, it's wonderful because there isn't a child that doesn't somehow or another connect with the characters that are the Cougar Cubs and what they're going through. As a matter of fact, really small ones. I have a 4-year-old granddaughter, and Lost and Alone, when she gets to the part where they fight and separate, it brings in this kind of intrigue in the book and conflict that even a child is put into. So each of the books has conflict, and the children are drawn into that. But also, I'm an artist, and children see vividly. They see more vividly than adults. They see color and they hear more acutely, and so they are drawn. The paintings, I have to give kudos to the man that I'm buying my paints from now. It's from Portland, Oregon. I use Graham watercolors, and these tints are all from the earth. They're all natural and beautiful, and they're so vivid that when children first see the book and see them peeking over, they're drawn into the color. And so not only are they enjoying the story, they're enjoying the art experience that is this child's picture book.
Well, that leads me to another question. in talking about your role as an artist, I mean, are there media, that you like to use or prefer?
In this one, Lost and Alone, I use watercolor. And so this book, and watercolor is my preferred media. And as you can see from the paintings in the book, the watercolors are incredibly vivid. And again, it's those tints that I use that really helps me, but it draws the children's eye to the art that is the book. And I'm also very much inspired by where I live in Washington. And so a lot of my paintings, like the fern beds going up towards Canada, the alpine lakes, are very much inspired by where I live. So I paint a lot about where I live, and so I can talk about where I'm from and the area that I'm from with the kids when they read the book. And so, but I'm also branching out into a new book that is going to be different than the Cougar Cubs, and I'm continuing with the series, but Henry and the Monster is all done in black and white, and the only thing in color is the monster. So it's like shades of black and white. It's lovely, wonderful, and of course, only the monster's in color because only the kids can see the monster. So that's my first effort to do that. Yes, so be looking for Henry and the Monster too.
Excellent. Well, I have a question. As an artist, I mean, as a writer and an artist, there's a lot of talk given to new media, iBooks, eBooks. Have you tried transitioning to that media, or do you think the art?
I have. As a matter of fact, both of these books are out in ebook. You can get them from Amazon or anywhere literally. You can download the ebooks. As a child's picture book, there is nothing more joyful than sitting with a child with the book in your lap.
Oh, yeah.
And so even though you want to carry, instead of carrying 10 books in the car with you, you want to put them on a nook or whatever so you don't have to carry all the books. But sitting down and flipping the pages with the child is a wonderful experience to read with those children. I've also put the books out in audiobook, and you can go to the website, and if your child has the book, you can click on the book and you can hear me reading it set to music and all kinds of wonderful sound effects that aren't even really in the book, like chickens. So yes, the audiobooks are out there, the ebooks out there. There's no way that we can not look at the transition to electronic media, especially with the youth. Okay, the picture books, that's going to be part of the industry that I feel that the joy of just flipping the page.
Oh, and the smell. I just love the smell of the picture book and the touch. You just can't get that same texture.
And where you're not going to let your 4-year-old stack a nook in his or her bedroom, they will stack their books and come dragging out their favorite 3 when it's bedtime, wanting you to read them their favorite bedtime story.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, thank you for joining us.
It was a pleasure.
And welcome to Book
Very nice
Expo.
to see you, Terry. It's lovely. You should all check it out. It rocks.
It does rock. Right here by the autographs, it really rocks.
It does.